I have something extremely important that I need to talk to you about, but before I do, let me just show you the video that inspired me to say what I'm about to say to you right now. To everyone who is deeply disturbed and maybe even depressed by what you just saw, I have some relatively good news for you, which is that the solutions to the climate emergency are already here, and they're relatively simple, and I'm going to explain it all in a few seconds. But first of all, I just want to say this. To everyone who still thinks that the climate emergency is some kind of future problem, tell that to the people of Texas who went underwater this year. Tell that to the people of Florida. Tell that to the people of Puerto Rico or South Asia. Tell that to the people of California. And when humans face these kind of problems, what do? We run away. We get into our cars, our boats, our planes, and we flee the disaster area. We become refugees and we try to move to a different country and hope they'll be humane enough to maybe give us some water and food and shelter. But animals do not have that kind of luxury. The same way that polar bear was starving to death and rummaging for food, right now there's a polar bear swimming across open ocean that used to be ice for up to 8 days at a time, just looking for ice, looking for food, and just drowning in the ocean. And while that's happening in the Arctic, in the tropical regions of the world, there's entire families of elephants that do not have water to drink, who are collapsing from thirst. And I could say the same thing for lions. And I could say the same thing for kangaroos in Australia and for so many different species. This is an emergency right now. So what do we do about it? Now, as I said, there's good news when it comes to climate change. We don't need any future technology. We don't need any miracles. The solutions to all of our problems are already here. We just need to implement them. Now, I want to make it sound like it's easy and it's simple. Even if we put a World War II style effort into our own survival, which we need to, it'll still take 10, 20 years at best before we change our entire civilization so that we can live in balance with the earth. But we need to start on that yesterday. But you probably want to know what we could do for polar bears immediately. Now, I have some good news on that front, which is that almost every country in the world that has polar bears within their borders has already protected polar bear habitat. And until earlier this week, the United States of America was also on that list. But just a few days ago, the Republicans who control Congress and the Senate passed a budget, and inside that budget, they slithered in a little bill to drill for oil in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, one of the last pristine habitats for polar bears on Earth. In Alaska's north coast will now be poisoned and have industrial level destruction happening exactly where polar bears live and need peace and need space to attempt to survive when their habitat is already in such peril from the fact that it's melting. For 30 years, there's been a battle over the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, with Democrats and decent human beings fighting to save America's last pristine wilderness, and Republicans and their oil industry puppet masters fighting to destroy it. But now that Republicans control all three branches of government, the Congress and the Senate have set destruction in motion. And when the budget gets to Donald Trump's desk, I am sure he will heartlessly sign it. Just like the way he signed a bill legalizing the shooting, gassing, and barbaric, torturous trapping of hibernating bears, hibernating mother and baby bears, mother and baby wolves in Alaska's national wildlife refuges. Now everyone's saying, hold up. Don't make this into a political thing. How stupid do you think we are? We all know what you really mean when you say that is, I'm embarrassed and I feel guilty because I voted for or spoke out in support for Donald Trump and the Republicans who are mass murdering animals, and I don't like to hear about it. So don't make me feel bad. Well, guess what? I don't give a fuck if you feel bad. How do you think the animals who survive when they see their family members get shot and gassed and murdered in a steel leg hold trap feel? To see their mothers and their daughters taken away from them. Everything is political. And the sooner you turn off Fox News and all the right-wing bullshit that you read on Facebook and start getting your scientific facts from actual scientists, the sooner we could do something about this and actually make progress. So how do we solve the climate crisis? Well, this is relatively simple. There's three main reasons why we're burning gas into the atmosphere. We're doing it to generate electricity. We're doing it to get from point A to point B. And we're doing it to grow our food. So let's break these down one by one and how do we solve them? Now, as far as electricity, you already know, okay, you could change your light bulbs. LEDs are great. But you see, all of these actions are not going to be enough. They will make a massive difference if we all do them. But still, that's not going to make the coal power plant shut down. That's not going to make the solar power plants and the windmills get built. That all happens on a governmental level. You can't just flip a switch and change from fossil fuel powered electricity to renewable energy. To make that happen, you need to vote. Now, as far as the emissions that come from transportation, obviously, you know, electric cars are superior to fossil fuel powered cars. And again, politics is everything here. In that same budget where Republicans set about to destroy the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, that same budget where they gave massive tax cuts to rich people and corporations, they also cut a $7,500 subsidy that was designed to encourage people to switch to electric cars. It's dead now. It's gone. The US government was spending something like $500 million on that, and they said they couldn't afford it. Guess what? The US government is spending $4.6 billion subsidizing the fossil fuel industry. That's something that President Obama spoke out against numerous times, and even he couldn't stop it because that's something that Congress and the Senate has power over. And in 11 months, you're going to choose who is in power in the Congress and Senate. So pay attention to your local elections. Now, as far as food, this is the easiest one and the most delicious one, and depending on the calculations, the most important one. And this is the one where you can make an immediate difference. You don't need to wait for an election. You don't need to wait for anyone else to do something about it. It's up to you next time you go to the supermarket. Let me break it down. It takes about 18 times as much land to grow animals for us to eat than it takes to grow plant-based food. Animal agriculture is the single biggest cause of ocean dead zones. It's the single biggest cause of deforestation. And because of that deforestation, it's the single biggest cause of species extinction. And I don't just mean long term, because burning down the Amazon rainforest to make room for cows is going to cause the earth to overheat and cause mass extinction in the years to come. I mean right now, because the Amazon rainforest is full of life. The Congo rainforest is full of life. In every square acre of rainforest that they cut down, to grow a cancerous hamburger, there's animals that exist nowhere else on Earth who are all dying tragically the same way that polar bear is. And speaking of that polar bear, if you have sympathy, if you have empathy for that polar bear, because you could see that he or she was in pain, can't we all have that same empathy for the animals who we consume? The cow does not feel pain or suffer any differently than the polar bear or from you and me. Mammals all have the same basic nervous system. There's absolutely no reason that you could draw an arbitrary line and say, oh, I have sympathy for these species because they're pets, or because they're endangered and not those ones because, well, I want to exploit them. Obviously, we need to have a special focus on endangered species so they don't go extinct. But in this case, you could solve two problems at once. You could feed two birds with one scone, as my girlfriend likes to say. You get it? Because vegans we wouldn't like to hit two birds with one stone. You could feed two birds with one scone by putting a delicious hamburger in your face that's not made out of a dead cow. Long story short, when it comes to food, you don't need to eat anything different. Keep eating everything and enjoying everything you're eating now. Better versions of what you're enjoying right now. Healthier versions. By the way, killing the planet is one thing. Killing yourself is another thing. Animal-based foods are huge contributing factors to the leading causes of death worldwide, which isn't terrorism, which isn't murder. The leading causes of death are heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and consuming animals contributes to all of these things. So save your own life right now and go vegan. You think it's hard, you think it's difficult, but I'm not asking you to do anything different. Like I said, keep eating meat, stop eating animals. All right, if you think it's hard, try one meal a day, then try 1 day a week, and try 1 week a month. Man, that's some baby ass steps. You're a grown up. Even if you're a kid, you could do better than that. Fuck that. Fuck what I just said. Just get your damn shopping list, look at it, be like, oh, what I want? I want burgers, I want cheese, I want some eggs. You get all that vegan. Go. Just go stuff your face, put some good flavor on it, and you'll thank me. Trust me. You may not be able to go back in time and save that polar bear's life, but the average person needs 100 to 200 animals a year. So you could save all those animals' lives right now by switching to plant-based foods. So that's the #1 thing on your to-do list. If you were seriously wondering how we can make a difference, not for that polar bear, if for the species as a whole, if for life on Earth as a whole. Thank you for caring, and thank you for hearing me out.